and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm talking about some recent horror reads. My reading has been basically non-existent lately, but I did read 4 horror novellas that have been getting me out of my slump. 3 of them were very disturbing, so let's get into it. The first one I'm going to talk about is Gone to See the Riverman. This book has been on TikTok. Marcy from Marcy Reads has also raved about this book, and I was nervous to read it because of the subject matter. I knew it was kind of a disturbing horror book going into it. So the story centers on a young woman who has a relationship with this serial killer who is in prison. She's corresponding with him through letters, and she actually goes to visit him in person, and he gives her this task to prove her loyalty to him. He sends her on this quest to see the Riverman and find this key, and she happily accepts. She takes her sister with her. Her sister has some issues, and you explore her relationship with her sister and their family life, and you learn how she has become the person that she is today, and you quickly realize that she has a lot more in common with this serial killer than you would have expected. This one went places I was not expecting at all. It's super disturbing, but not in the blood and guts sort of way. Yes, it does have some really gory moments, but the standout of the story is in its exploration of this woman and her family life. The stuff that this book details, it was some of the most difficult stuff I've ever had to read, and it's because it involves SA and made me super uncomfortable because it's real life. These are real things that happen, but it's a really quick read and it's really well written, and I couldn't put it down. It really helped me, and I highly recommend it. Then I read Below from Laurel Hightower. She wrote one of my favorite books of last year called Crossroads. Now this one is centered on the Mothman. It follows a woman who's traveling across country. She's recently out of a divorced relationship. She's trying to overcome her fears and hesitations in life, and she's trying to be her own person. So while she's traveling, she encounters this trucker who seems super friendly, and they connect. There's chemistry there. He finds out she's traveling across the road alone, and he tells her how dangerous the road is, and he gives her a CB radio so that they could communicate in case anything happens. So while they're driving, it's also snowing, and it's this dangerous dark road at night, and something flies out in front of the truck driver, causing a horrible situation to unfold. It forces this woman to make the decision to help this stranger that she doesn't know, or just go about her merry way. This one felt very much like The Descent to me. I was so claustrophobic at points, and I love the Mothman mythology, which the book really does explore. It's just an intense read because you know that the situation is time sensitive. She has to get through this situation as quickly as possible to be safe, and there's also this creature that is stalking her through the forest. Not only does she have to worry about the elements and the danger of being out in the middle of nowhere, she has to worry about these creatures that want to kill her. So it was just such an intense, fun read. I love Laurel Hightower because she is so good at making you connect with her characters like instantly. You connect and learn so much about them within such a short time, and I really liked the main character. I felt very similar to her. The insecurities that she has, I have similar insecurities, and just her way of thinking, it just felt very relatable, and to watch her growth over the story was just really rewarding. I highly recommend this one, especially if you're a fan of The Descent and subterranean horror type of stories. I think you'll really love this one, and you'll also love it if you love cryptids and the Mothman. Then I read a horribly disturbing book that was recommended to me by Nina from The Wandering Reader on Instagram. Highly recommend you follow her because she has some amazing book recommendations. This book, it wasn't even on my radar. I would never have heard of it unless it was recommended to me, and I'm so glad I read it. But yeah, I was disturbed. It's called The Laws of the Skies. So the story centers on a group of 6-year-old children who are taken into the woods for a camping trip by 3 adults, and the trip goes horribly wrong. This one is described as Winnie the Pooh meets the Blair Witch Project. Hearing that, I was like, okay, I'm sold. Thank you. Give it to me now. I don't know if I agree with that, but I do feel like it's very Lord of the Flies, and it's just insane because there's some really brutal stuff happening, some shocking stuff happening, and a lot of it is happening to children who are only only 6 years old. It's horrible. Like, it's horrible to read about these kids who are dying. I'm not gonna, like, that's not a spoiler. That's, you know, going into the book that something happens. Seeing these 6-year-olds and the brutality that comes out of their hands, whew, you can't even comprehend it, but I couldn't look away. It's another one of those situations where it's like a car crash, you can't look away. And it's not fun, and it seems like everything that can go wrong will go wrong. It also reminds me of this movie from back in the day called Rabies, where these group of people are out in the middle of the woods. They think there's a serial killer on the loose, but they realize they're their own worst enemy. And also Tucker and Dale versus Evil, which is a much funnier version of this concept. But if you've seen those movies, you know where I'm going with this, but I highly recommend those two movies if you've never seen them and you like this book. This book, it's thrilling, it's sad, it's just messed up. It made me super sad and uncomfortable and never want to go in the woods with children ever, or have kids, so you know. And the last book I want to talk about is Womb by Duncan Ralston. This is an extreme horror novel. This book is extremely disturbing and it will upset you and offend you. I guess that's the point of extreme horror. I'm not an extreme horror person. I don't read a ton of it, but I've been trying to push myself out of my comfort zone. Last night I was laying there and I was like, I need to read something. I can't get into anything. Picked this one up on Kindle, read it in 2 hours. I don't know how I read it. I don't know why I read it before bed, because the stuff that happens in this book is not fun. It's disgusting. It's depraved. It's about this man who seems like a pretty normal guy, and he goes to this hotel room called the Lonely Motel, which has a very dark history. He seems to be very familiar with this history, and he calls up an escort service and he asks for a woman to join him, a lady of the night. And she comes, she thinks it's gonna be a normal evening, but it's not, and he begins to tell her stories, and the stories increase in depravity. There's a lot of sexual horror, body stuff, bodily function related stuff, and birthing, birthing. I can't say enough. I can't say too much because I'll get in trouble on here, and also I don't want to give too much away, but just know that the major plot is this man wants to be rebirthed. Listen, there's a scene in here, okay, this is a slight spoiler, but not really. One of those stories that he tells is about this man who hires these group of people to help him deal with something, and he wants to be reborn. So they take him, they roll him up in a carpet as tight as they possibly can so he can't get out, and they tell him he has to fight to get out, like he's going through the birthing process, and people sit on him so he can't breathe. When I tell you, I could not breathe, I could not breathe. The claustrophobia was real with this one, and you know what? It makes me even sadder is because I've read true crime cases where that exact scenario has been done to someone, but they're much younger and they were forced into the situation by their parent. One of the most brutal things I can ever think to happen to another person is to basically smother them in that way. So you can't fight. Oh, it's just, I can't even think about it anymore. It makes me sweat. It makes me uncomfortable. But there's a lot of feelings. This book made me feel many different things. Disgust, sadness. I was revolted. I also was slightly turned on. I don't know. There's a lot going on. But it helped me read. Anyway, it's a quick read. If you're into disturbing extreme stuff, this one's for you. Am I gonna read more extreme horror? Yeah, probably. I have a limit though. I don't know what that limit is, but I find that if I'm reading this stuff, I can get through it quickly. It helps me when I'm in a slump, and I'm loving the novellas. Please recommend more horror novellas or short, quick, fast-paced reads like this. Books that are gonna get me and keep me, and it's just I'm gonna be completely smothered with it. I can't get that word out of my head because of this book. I'm just traumatized from what I read last night. Anyway, I hope you have a great day. I hope you've had some good books that you've read lately. Please give me some more recommendations. And thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you next time. Bye.